Life and business can be easy, but us silly humans love getting in our own way. My name is Nico Rapklis, and I've had a wild journey. From releasing traumas that I held on to for decades, to playing college athletics, working with multi-million-dollar brands, having a spiritual awakening, and now coaching incredible humans navigate their inner and outer world. The Just Grow podcast is my outlet to share and help others with life and business. After investing north of $100,000 into my personal and professional development, the Woo plus Do formula is what has served me best. A healthy combination of mindset, energetics, consciousness, spirituality, self-healing, and discovery, matched with a high-level strategy, principles, focus, optimization, and accountability to help you be, do, and have everything that has been placed in your heart. This podcast is for the impact-driven entrepreneur that is finally ready to start thriving internally and externally. Welcome to Just Grow. Yo, what's happening, my friends? Welcome to the Just Grow podcast. I am Nico Rapklis, your host. Really excited for you to be on this particular episode of the Just Grow podcast. As all of them, they're all amazing. I always feel that the most recent episode is always the best, and this one is not any different. This is with Dr. Jon Connelly. So this is a very interesting story. His work has drastically transformed my life, and I learned it from another podcast that we're going to have here in the next couple episodes. And her work is predominantly influenced by Dr. Connelly's work, which is known as rapid resolution therapy. It's almost a new version and form of therapy that doesn't require you to open up old wounds and talk through them and sift through them and just like sit with that pain that a lot of this talk therapy goes through. Now, I don't have a whole lot of experience with talk therapy, but that's kind of the gist that I get. And anytime I implement any of this RRT work, my life gets infinitely better and I feel better. And in this particular episode, it was really unique because, as you'll see, at that point in time, I was kind of going through a little challenge dating wise, and I was really feeling some heavy emotions. And in literally a matter of 10, 20, 30 minutes after this podcast, or just amidst this podcast, that feeling was completely cleared. And that's what's really powerful about their work, about his work, RRT. So you're going to get to experience that right in this particular episode, and he's going to take you through some exercises on how you can apply it to yourself as well. So it's a really powerful exercise. Really excited for you to listen to this episode. Now, before we do jump in, I want to let you know about our May 11th podcast event for Just Grow. It's actually going to be in North Scottsdale this time. This is going to be a completely different event, and it's going to be absolutely incredible. Probably one of our best events and likely one of our biggest events as well. So you're not going to want to miss it. We're going to be doing cash giveaways. We have a bunch of surprises. We're doing it with my good friend Akshay Nanavati, who is about to embark on a really powerful experience. He's going to set a couple world records to be the first guy to traverse Antarctica by himself for 110 days, 1,700 miles, dragging a 400-pound sled. So it's going to be a remarkable conversation. We're going to talk about how to become magnetic, because Akshay has built out one of the best and most high-value networks that I've ever seen. He's also had this crazy ability to raise capital like nothing I've ever seen. And he's going to show you how to just develop a bulletproof mindset. So those are kind of the three things that we're going to be talking about, as well as the cash giveaways. We've got some surprises, networking, all sorts of cool stuff. So you don't want to miss this night. It's going to be really, really powerful. Head on over to www.justgrowpodcast.com. But without further ado, let's jump in this interview with Dr. Jon Connelly. Well, welcome, Dr. Connelly.
Wow. I mean, what a wake-up call intro that was. I'm like ready to light something on fire and meditate all at once.
That's a good way to describe it. I feel like that's a good place to be at.
I think.
Well, I'm really excited to have you on here for a variety of reasons. So just to kind of share a little bit of my story and how I got introduced to you, you might know a little bit. But I would say it was like 3-4 months ago, I got introduced to Andrea Crowder, and I dove into her work heavily, and she's had a massive impact on my life. And come to find out is that when her business exploded and her life just became so much better, it was a direct result of her diving deep into your work of RRT, rapid resolution therapy. And so whenever I hear people talking and being extremely excited about things that are improving their lives, I like to go to the source. So she was mentioning that you have these calls on Monday nights where you could go and kind of learn about it, get kind of introduced to it. I got on there. I raised my hand to have a little session with you, and we had a great session. I've been to a couple more sessions, and I feel better after every time I'm at those solutions. And so it was really cool when one of your team members reached out and said that you'd like to be on the podcast. So it is really, really special to have you here and just share
I'm
your
so
wisdom and
excited.
knowledge
Thank
with
you
the
so
content.
much for sharing all that. That's beautiful, my friend.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned before we hopped on, a lot of times we share the story, but I think I'm just really excited to hear much more about your work and how it's helping so many people. So, I'd love to just hear how you answer this question, but what exactly is rapid resolution therapy?
Um, so what I'm looking to do, Nico, is find ways to make a significant difference, a significant impact on people's lives. Often those are folks who have been significantly suffering with something, um, physical or emotional or thought-wise or behaviorally. And yet more and more, it's also people who are doing really well, who are really thriving, but want to just be bumped up to the next to the next level.
Hmm.
And both of them are just wonderful experiences for me to have an opportunity to do that. Everybody is unique. The principles that I'm creating and following seem to apply all over the place, but it's always a very creative rather than rote experience. Um, each one is a whole different pony, right? And so I just feel lucky every day that I get to have these experiences, and much more often than not, they're satisfying because people are telling me that life got much better, and I'm looking for people's lives to get much better quickly, deeply, profoundly, painlessly, and in a way that's lasting. And we seem to be um, uh, hitting many more than we don't when it comes to uh, causing that.
Yeah, I love all that, and I'm very aligned with your mission as well because I just feel like there's a lot of people, whether that you want to say it's either side, it's people that are in suffering and want to just alleviate that, or it's people that just want to go to the next level of life. And I think there's kind of this misnomer, and I think it's just it's almost glamorized by media and just society, is that like there's this nobility in struggle, and it has to be hard and it has to be difficult and you have to go through a lot of pain. And I kind of question that. I was like, is that the way it has to be, or is there options where we can alleviate our pain very quickly? So it
I
sounds
think
like you've kind
so.
of stumbled on that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Um, I I I can point out some of the differences between what we're offering and what is being offered out there by most people in the mental health industry. Um, is that okay
Yeah,
to kind of
by all means.
contrast and compare a bit?
Please.
Um, so one significant difference is this. I've trained. I was traveling around the country prior to COVID, uh, doing in-person trainings with mental health professionals all over the place, this country and other countries. And I I would ask this question. I would tell people, hey, I'm doing a little survey. Um, I'd like you to tell me how many hours when you went and got your doctorate in psychology or your master's degree in social work or whatever prepared you to have a professional license to do things for people, when you went through the program preparing you for licensure, how many hours did you spend watching people do what they were teaching you to do? How many hours did you spend watching your professors do this thing that they were teaching you to do? And I found that all around the country, all around the world, the average number of hours people spent seeing somebody do what they were learning to do was zero. I then asked the follow-up question, well, you didn't get to see them, but they at least got to see you, right? So they could coach you and say, hey, not so much of this, a little more of that. How many hours did you get observed all around the world? The answer was zero.
Yes.
So, I mean, I can't imagine how I could teach somebody to change a tire if I couldn't show them. You can imagine teaching somebody to do anything, but you're not allowed to show them what it is. Um, uh, so I just think that's crazy. And when people are learning from me, they're spending a whole bunch of time watching this thing happen, having it broken down, torn apart. They're able to ask in the beginning, middle, and end of it. They watch it live, they watch it filmed so that you see it and then you see it and then you see it and then you see it. And then I would look to see you doing that. And I can say to you, hey, that was good, Nico, but a little more here, a little less there. And then we get it done that way. That's a big difference. Another big difference, I think, is that unlike the educational system and the mental health system and the coaching system, the metaphysical system, the grief system, the substance abuse industry, all of those seem to me to have in common that they take no responsibility for their failures,
Hmm.
but instead blame only the people that they failed. Um,
Can you give me an example on that?
sure, let's start with the school system. Um, so I have I have a gal I know. She called a while back. She works selling donuts, but I mean she has kids. She's a single parent, Nico. She's like doing 15-hour days
Okay.
selling donuts. And she cried as she called me. She was crying. I said, what is it? She said, the school principal called me. I said, what happened? She said, my seventh grader. I said, what happened? He was so upset with me. My son fell asleep in history class. I said, they called you? She said, well, yes, they said it was something I had to address. I said, I'll tell you what, call the guy tomorrow and say, my son didn't help with the dishes. Come over here, send a frickin' psychologist. What a ridiculous thing. We have schools with all of these so-called professionals blaming everybody but themselves for their own responsibility. Let me put that to where I think it's going to be alarming for people to hear, because you never hear that. And we seem to have a lot of kids returning back to their schools, shooting other kids and teachers. Um, I'm waiting for the first school principal to stand up, get in front of the microphone and say, yeah, I guess we didn't do good with that one.
Hmm.
Because what is their job? Educate, socialize.
Hmm.
Somebody comes back shooting people. I don't think they did such a good job, but do you ever hear them say, yeah, that might have not been me doing a real good job? Oh, absolutely not. It's not my fault at all. That's the parents. And we're putting parents in jail now for what their kids do. I'm fine with that. Put all the freaking parents in jail, but let's put all the school principals in jail right along with them for a whole longer period of time, because they went to school to know what they're doing. All you have to do to be a parent is know how to fuck.
Well, yeah, I 100% agree. I had a pretty interesting experience where I played baseball all the way through college, and then I actually would umpire youth baseball, and I got a really good lens of what uh, young adults or like children and through young adults and what their parents like really emulate. And just I guess what I'm getting at is like I can resonate with the whole not taking responsibility because whenever I was umpiring, it was always my fault. It was always my fault that the kid struck out or
Well,
didn't catch the
yeah.
ball or anything like that. So I think there's definitely something to be said, whether that's school
So
system, whether that's
school
sports,
systems
anything.
and the mental health industry. I don't remember a therapist saying to me, yeah, my patient didn't get better. It's probably because I didn't have enough skill. I hear, oh no, my patient was resistant. My patient wasn't motivated. My patient wasn't enthusiastic. Well, gosh, if you have somebody come in and they're not motivated and you're supposed to be somebody who transforms people or something, motivate them,
Mm,
you know, well, rather than complain that they're supposed to have come in motivated. If they were already motivated, why the hell would they have needed you? Um, so that's a second difference. So if I'm not able to make a significant difference in your life, I will absolutely apologize, tell you, I'm sorry, I didn't have the skill, that it's my fault, not yours, and then move things any way that I can to get you connected with somebody who will have the key for the particular lock that will open up your potential.
mm.
Um, so that's a second difference between us. Third difference is people in the mental health field and the coaching field too, they converge here, often feel that the reason people are troubled with things is because they went through experiences that were disturbing, but didn't get disturbed enough by them.
Mm.
In other words, the problem she's having adjusting to having fun relationships and good sex is having gotten raped. Well, but I don't think she got disturbed enough by the rape. So now we got to help her to kind of relive the rape so she can really experience the horror more fully. That ought to have her having good sex pretty soon.
Mm.
I mean, so to my way of thinking, the whole notion that what we're supposed to do for people that are hurting is try to help them remember a time that they were hurting previously and feel that hurt in order to get rid of this hurt. I'm embarrassed to tell you that that actually made sense to me initially because I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and everybody was telling me that's what you had to do. I tried it. I did it to people. I apologized to all of them. And then I figured that was stupid. That's not the way to make a difference,
And that you're
a
referring
real difference.
specifically to like talk therapy. Is that correct?
Oh, a whole bunch of them.
Okay.
Some of the talk therapy, some of the breath therapy, some of the move your eyes back and forth like you're watching a tennis match therapy, some of it tapping on your face therapies. Uh, still breathe, breathe really fast, hold your breath, think of angels. Um, the whole notion of all of that stuff. Here's what I think. I think that our minds are much more advanced than any other life form. I mean, goodness,
Yes.
zebras couldn't build London. Camels don't know how to build airplanes. We can do all kinds of things um, that those other life forms can't do. But I bet you've had an app on your phone and it's working pretty well. And then they send you a note and say, how would you like to have this on superpowers where it'll be able to do this, this, and this too? We can send it to you today for free. It's the beta version.
Mm.
And there's a little bit of, well, I know about this beta version thing. It's really great other than it doesn't work. Uh, they tell you it doesn't work before you download it, and it's going to screw things up. It's going to be very aggravating. We need you to report your feelings to us so we can improve the app. I'm pretty sure you and I are running the beta version. Anytime I forget that, I just look at the cover of a newspaper and realize everybody's running the beta version because things are massively screwed up. Massively screwed up. all around the world. I don't even have to open the newspaper. I look at the cover, any newspaper, any day. Um, our minds process information, and that's what allows us to do exciting things. But the processor isn't fully integrated and working within the system. So sometimes information gets stuck and doesn't process through, and hence people continue to be in turmoil because of something that happened previously, and we take for granted that it should be that way. We think, well, if she got beaten up by a guy in a red shirt, of course she's nervous, particularly if she sees guys in red shirts. But I don't think we should just be thinking, well, of course, well, why would that be, and what can we do about it? I think we figured out why it is, and we certainly know what to do about it. And what it is the way that info is getting processed, and then it got snagged. And then because it got snagged, mind is continuing to read crap that happened in the past as if it's about to happen, is happening, or just happened all at once. And then on top of that, that it means some weird ass thing about us. And 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 that's going on so much that if that's going on, I figure that means it's normal. Normal, but you might say, John, don't sound wonderful. And I would agree with you there. Normal isn't wonderful, but we've learned to tweak it, to shift it, to cause it to be that that doesn't have to continue to work that way. People don't have to go through a certain number of months in order to no longer be experiencing suffering from grief. It doesn't take a particular period of time to overcome heartbreak. Our minds eventually acclimate, but we figured out how to kind of turn the dials in order to cause the experience of acclimation to speed up and deepen. So that if it would have taken you 3 months to overcome, being dumped by this person, let's compress that. Let's bring that down to a week. Um, um, I mean, you're going to get there anyway. What a week, usually. If not, we got to push another button. But bring it down, make it as painless as possible for people to move past the speed bumps that we inevitably encounter going through our lives, so that people can flourish and thrive and maybe be a little better to each other.
That's the key, right? It's about all of us being better to one another. Because when I firmly stand on this quote that I heard a while back that said, "Hurt people hurt people." And it's like if people were feeling better, this world would be a better place because then they would treat themselves better, they would treat other people better.
And what we do when we don't like the way people are treating people, in order to get them to be better, is we make them feel worse.
Hmm. Yeah,
I mean, isn't that what we built the criminal justice system on?
yeah.
That's working real well, isn't it? And isn't it what we build the educational system on? Oh, you don't seem to be paying attention. You don't seem to like school. We'll make you stay after school in a particular thing designed to be boring to you. If
Hmm.
school isn't interesting, we force you to go to detention so that it's boring. If you don't seem to be very sociable, we'll exclude you from the thing that's supposed to socialize you by suspending you, then expelling you. So you just have time on your hands to go buy a gun. Um, so I think we could wake up and make things significantly better. But the way things have been running, people do things, they don't work, then they do them harder. So I think what we have to offer is something else. And what I like to do is find a way to get, um, you ever you say something to somebody, Nico, you say, you're a good guy, you can do this. And he says to you, Nico, I get it. And he taps the top of his head. And then he says, I just wish I could get it.
Hmm.
So it's like consciously, intellectually, you just made sense to me. But I wish I could feel that way.
Hmm.
So we spend a lot of time on getting better and better at communicating in ways that the deeper part of the mind hears and responds to, so that we can cause a um, a, a reconciliation within people. I mean, how often do you hear people say things like, I really um, know that if I'm ever going to be successful, I have to at least have control over myself. So I've been trying to discipline myself, but I'm having a hard time with it. And it makes me feel kind of frustrated with myself. Actually, I don't really think I like myself. So I went to my coach. She told me that, I have to like myself if I'm going to get anywhere. So I went home and tried liking on myself, but that just made me even more frustrated. And I finally found I just friggin' hated myself. So I went back to my coach and she said, well, it's not really enough for you to be liking yourself. You got to love yourself. So now I got to love something that I hate in order to turn things around so that I can, you don't have to do all that stuff. Um, I'm also hearing people say that, gosh, I just had a gal, you talked about the solutions thing. Every 6 times a month, we do pretty long open groups where anybody can come and experience this and for free. And that's my contribution. I'm committed to making sure that we continue to be offering that because we want to get out there where a whole lot of folks can benefit. So this lovely gal is telling me that well, life wasn't working so well, so she went to a therapist. Then the therapist decided to help her find out why life isn't going so well, so did a bunch of hypnosis.
Hmm.
And the hypnosis resulted in her being able to remember that she had been sexually assaulted when she was a little girl.
Hmm.
And so now, does she feel better? Not so much, Nico, not so much. She didn't say, I've been feeling pretty down, but now that I realize I was raped by my grandfather, I feel much better. No, she didn't frickin' feel better.
Right.
She felt worse. Guess what this brainiac therapist suggested the solution for that problem was?
More sense.
Let go of it.
Oh.
How the frick are you supposed to let go of it? That makes no more sense to me than if somebody clubs me in the face and my face is swollen and bruised and I meet you and you say, oh, John, let go of the bruise. You can't let go of it. So people have the experience with how to cut people's minds open and expose crap. And there are a lot of folks doing that. But they didn't take the second part of that class, which wasn't offered, on what the hell do you do after the guy remembers that he was raped by his mother, other than say, well, let go of it. And what we do is cause the mind on all levels to get this information. It's not happening, therefore it doesn't exist. It doesn't mean anything about you, and there's nothing that needs to be done about it. So your mind stops causing emotions, thoughts, sensations in order to cause you to do something that doesn't need to be done about something that doesn't even exist. Not that it didn't, but it doesn't. And instead, therapists are trying to get people to be experiencing trauma from the past as if it does exist. It's going in the opposite direction. I'm embarrassed that it took me a minute to realize that because I was doing that stuff to people.
Hmm.
I'm feeling pretty bad. Oh, yeah, I guess that's because you're not feeling bad enough. Hey, how was your mother? Oh, she was pretty nice. Oh, let's take a look at that. I bet she actually disappointed you. I bet she wasn't so good. Well, I guess so. Okay, there you go. I mean, what's this about? So there are ways to get people feeling and doing things so much better in ways that are efficient, effective, and are fun. When people see us because they're feeling depressed, we think it's a good idea for the visit to be a hell of a lot of fun so that that person is laughing their way toward a healthy, fit, and productive mind rather than finding that the solution is to think more about themselves. Too many people are spending, their minds are doing a whole lot of self-analysis,
Hmm.
which is what happens when you go to many people for coaching or therapy. They encourage you to kind of be thinking about yourself,
Mhm.
analyzing yourself. Then you start analyzing why you're doing so much analysis. Um, I don't think that introspection's the solution, Nico. I think it's symptomatic of emotional disturbance, and it would be good if people who are supposedly in helping professions weren't prescribing the symptoms because they're supposedly the cure.
Right. Yeah,
So
that's a lot.
I'm talking
Um,
so fast, I can't even follow what the hell I'm saying. If you can, my
well,
hat's
a
off
few
to you.
things that I definitely like to mention is like, yes, obviously the solution calls are amazing. I've been to a couple of those. That's what we recommend anybody listening to this. Like, if you're interested in this topic and you feel like there's a way that Dr. Connelly can help you, I would recommend going through that. I know after talking to Holly, you have some more extensive certifications, which draws me in a lot too. And as you mentioned, like that's the way, like the immersion into this work is what's going to help you the best. But I guess my question now is like how can we illustrate to the viewers? How can you give them a little taste, maybe a little appetizer on how this stuff all works? Because I think that might be really beneficial to the viewers.
So if today, here we go, Nico, if today we could make a difference for amazing Nico, I mean, and you are like, so this is, I know I'm messing with perfection here, but if we could tweak something, if we could shift, change, improve anything about the way you think, feel, act, react, interact, what would we get done? What would make your life more of a party for you and the rest of the world?
Yeah, it's actually quite timely that we jumped on this call. I would say probably something that I've been navigating over just the last couple of days is I even kind of mentioned it as a so there was a little bit of heartbreak. There was a just real brief interaction with the gal. Didn't necessarily work out exactly the way we thought it would, and just kind of feeling through it now.
Um, are, may I ask how many weeks ago the thing seemed to terminate, if it
It
did?
was actually on Sunday, so it's just 2 days ago.
So this is very fresh.
Yeah.
And um, so prior to that, there was a connection and it was feeling good for a while.
Yeah.
So, okay, the normal way to, I so, by the way, appreciate you doing this and you're modeling a guy who steps full out into the power of transparency. And as you do that, you know what you kick to the freaking curb? Shame.
Mm.
And when we can kick shame to the curb, what a huge thing that is. And I don't know what we're going to do for you, but I can tell you that by saying that, you've just changed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of lives because they're saying, this is my hero. Look at this guy. And he's willing to talk about how he's experiencing some emotional pain. Maybe I don't have to sit around and just tell everybody, fine, every time they ask how I am, or awesome.
Mm.
And maybe so hooray for you for doing that. Um, do this for me for 3 seconds, and don't go over that. For 3 seconds, cause the feeling of turmoil. Nod when you get it. Open your eyes. That's enough of that. Can we think that the thing that caused the feeling was the way mind outside of awareness processed some data, processed some info?
So you're asking if the pain came from me processing the
Can we
information?
think that the pain came from your mind processing certain information?
Yeah.
Can we think that everything somebody's experiencing is coming because their mind is processing information in a particular way? What is causing that guy to be angry? Well, his mind is processing information in a particular way and causing the emotion. Your mind just processed information in a particular way, and that's what caused the feeling.
Hmm.
If we can think that way, I'd like you to create a visual, something you see in your mind's eye, abstract, doesn't look like anything, and is going to represent not the feeling, but the thing beneath the feeling, the processing, the ones and zeros that were processed that caused that feeling. If we created a visual representing it, might that visual abstract visual be more like grayscale, or might it have color?
I would say grayscale.
And so we're done with that. Now I see already, as you told me that, immediately saw what's intended. And I see you where, as you recall the interaction that you had with this gal, perhaps from time to time, it's a joyful recollection and there's stuff in it that makes you laugh. And I see as she comes to mind that she comes to mind and it's with, wow, that was cool. I sure wish a great life for this individual. And so that's what I'm looking for you. I also see you where, you know how sometimes somebody has some dental work done, their tooth doesn't hurt anymore, but they go, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm like, oh, where's the pain? Final pain. I guess it doesn't seem to be there. I see you where you can't get it back. I mean, you're saying, wait a minute, where the hell did that go? Let me try to feel it. I remember what it felt like. I felt crappy. Let me, come on, where is it? But it's not showing up. So that's what I'm looking for you. Would that be all right?
Yeah.
Any objection, anything not okay with that?
No objections.
Beautiful. My friend, you and I have the same intention, purpose, and vision.
Hmm.
We're both looking for the same thing. I mean, we're in the same canoe, dude. We're both paddling. And not only that, we've agreed on the destination, which is very good for me because I'm much less likely to get wet or clobbered. So we're going together and our energy is coming together and we're just going to figure it out and get there. Yay.
Like that.
So mind causes emotion in order to cause an action.
Hmm.
Mind doesn't care. You know, you and I both know there's a ton of people that feel crappy. And what's making them feel crappy? Well, according to this theory, their mind. So does our mind want us to feel crappy? No. Don't you think your mind wants you to feel good? I don't. I don't think your mind gives a rat's ass whether you feel good. I think it cares about what you do,
Hmm.
not what you feel. And it causes feelings to get you to do things.
Hmm.
Um, no other life form can think of things that it doesn't think are possible. So Wolf isn't thinking, wow, if I could fly, I'd kill some birds today. That's what I would be doing. I don't think he's thinking about it. He can't do it. He doesn't think about it. We humans have this advanced and discombobulated mind that thinks about things that can't actually happen, but our inner mind doesn't know they can't happen. If they occur to this part of the mind, inner mind thinks it probably could happen and tries to get it to happen by causing emotion, thought, sensation, impulse, or habit in order to cause a behavior to make things happen. That's fine, but if the thing can't happen, that's not so good. And if it just keeps doing it, that's not so good. So what your mind has been doing is causing this feeling, an uncomfortable feeling, to cause you to do things to cause that to have been different previously.
Hmm.
If you put effort into something that doesn't respond to the effort, you get frustrated and it feels bad.
Hmm.
There's a lot of people experiencing emotional turmoil. It's primarily, I think, because their minds are trying to get them to do things in a way that doesn't work. And often things that don't have to be done and can't be done. So you don't have to, there's nothing that needs to be done to cause you or she to have thought, felt, or acted any different previously. It couldn't have been any different. Here you are. And um, what I have in mind for you, I'm seeing you, my friend, where your mind is entertaining only what has value. And value has two things. It would be good for you and it's possible.
Hmm.
If either are missing, it's no longer interesting.
Hmm.
Hey, how about a dozen donuts? I don't think it would be good for me. Well, then do you want to just want it? I can't really want it because I know it wouldn't be good for me. So there, you know, there it's working the way we'd like it to for you. But for other people, we'd want to get them where you are.
Hmm.
Um, so your mind showing you where there's opportunity and what you can do. You, I saw this guy walking along the beach um, the other day, good looking young guy, but man, he looked freaking miserable. Knitted up like this, his hands are in fists and his face, it just looked terrible. I finally ran over to him. I just said, hey, can I help you with something? He said, what do you mean? I said, you just seem a little worried. He said, well, of course. I said, well, what's the matter? He says, the matter, I don't want to drop it. I don't want to lose it. I said, well, no, what, by the way, what don't you want to lose? And he starts really trembling because that brought it really close to home. I said, come on, what is it? What don't you want to lose? He says, I'll show you. And little by little, he opened his hand. It was, filled with sand. Um, and so I don't know how that comes to mind as I talk to this amazingly fun, attractive guy who's worried that some his sand just blew out of his hand while he's walking on the beach. Um, if you notice, they have a little more of it there.
Yeah.
Uh, so bring somebody to mind who you used to be all gaga about, but currently the best thing you could say is, I hope she doesn't get hit by a bus. Other than that, I don't want anything to do with her. Can you think of somebody?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what her name is. I'm not going to ask you to say it because God forbid she listens and it breaks her heart. We're going to call her Susie.
Okay.
This one is Susie, and I'm going to call the other one Jessie. Unless she was a Jessie, and then we'll call her Susie. The other one Jessie. We'll just call that one Jessie. This one's
Cool.
Susie. So um, I'll show you something. Think of any man you know, not me, somebody else. Got it?
Okay, got it.
Tell me about his hair.
Long, dark.
How would he look if he was wearing a really stiff, bright red, extra long mohawk? Red. Now go back to the way he actually looks.
Okay,
Now look at one, look at the other, go to this one, go to that one.
okay.
Which one seems to be more to your left?
I'd say the dark hair.
Yeah. Interesting, right? Because you didn't make any decision to put it there.
Yeah.
But mind just did that automatically. So that's something your mind does with the visual thought, sorting things out so you know that even though you conceived of it, you're not going to expect it. About the mohawk haircut. Mind also, let's see what it does with an auditory thought. I'll ask you two questions. Say yes the first time you'll tell the truth, the second time you'll lie.
Okay.
Okay. First question, are you a man?
Yes.
Or are you a fish?
Yes.
That would took a bit more thought. So now answer both the same way, but just think the yes, like it's silent. Are you a man? Are you a fish? Stay with the yeses, listen, and tell me, listen for where the sound comes from. And where does the one about being a fish come from? Where does the yes, I'm a fish one come from? Is it more right, more left, more up, more down?
For the fish, it's more up and to the right.
Bingo. Um, so that's deep. I mean, people in psychology wouldn't think that's deep, but I think that's deep because I think that gets right into the way brain processes different kinds of information. And I just showed you the thing about the fish and the crazy haircut to kind of show you how it works. Now we'll use it to assist you. So um, we're going to say number one is the more recent young lady. Girl number two is the one that we don't want hit by a bus.
Okay.
One is the more recent one. I'd like you to look at one, then look at the other, not together, one at a time. This one, this one, this one, this one. And then tell me, where is the one, the number two? Yeah. Is
Where is
that,
she?
yeah, left or right?
Left.
Larger or smaller, further or closer?
Further, closer than what?
The other one.
Closer.
Yeah. So the one that's number two, further back, is shows up as a closer picture.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, good. Um, so um, I'm going to ask you about gal number one, and I would like you to answer. Well, I'm going to ask you about girl number two first, and you
Okay.
answer me by saying, I really miss her,
Okay.
which isn't the case.
Correct.
So what about number two?
I really miss her.
Good job. Give me the same answer. What about number one?
I really miss her.
Beautiful. Now hear them silently. What about two? What about one? Okay. Then where does the one about two sound like it's coming from?
To the right.
So number two is coming more from over here on your right.
Correct.
In a moment, the one about one is going to be right exactly where the other one was and heard from the same place.
Okay.
All you have to do that is when I tell you you'll close your eyes, I'm going to be asking you about them. You're just going to be hearing, I miss her, I miss her, I miss her for each one. And then um, the one about one is going to be right here where the one about two is.
Okay.
Okay. So just close your eyes and you just try to keep up with me. What about two? What about two? Just think it silently. What about two? 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 What about one, two, 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 one, two, 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 one, two, 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 one, one, two, 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 one, two, one, two, one, two, one, two, 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 one, 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 two, one, two. What about her? What about her? What about she? What about that? What about her? What about it? What about it? What about it? What about it? Good. Open your eyes. Listen now. And what about two? What about one? And we have them both over on the right. Got it?
Yep.
Now, um, number two, I mean, you don't want her hit by a bus, but you don't want her to sit on your lap, start licking your teeth. Right. In fact, there's a lot of people you don't want to have do that today. Uh, so um, I'm going to ask you, what about two? You just say, don't want her hit by a bus. So what about two? Yeah. And now think the same one with this. What about one? Good. Where do you hear the one about two coming from? What about two? What about one?
I would say it's still on the right.
So the one about two is more on your right.
Correct.
And now the one about one.
I feel like they're both the same.
Will you slow it down? I'm trying to teach people crap, and if you get better too fast, you're going to screw the whole thing up.
Right.
So come on, try to miss her or something. Uh, okay, so they're moving together. That's like amazing. Let's get them exact. I'm going to get them exact for you. You just answer silently, same way. Don't want her hit by a bus. Don't want her hit by a bus. Don't want her hit by a bus. Close your eyes. What about that number two? What about number two? What about number two? What about number two? Number two, number two, number one, number two, number two, number two, one, two. What about her? 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 What about this? What about that? What about this? What about that? What about it? What about it? Good. Open your eyes. They're lined up now. They are all lined up. That has taken the acclimation. You heard me talk about it in the beginning of our visit, was underway anyway. It would have happened. You would have been fine without me.
Hmm.
But this is just designed to get you fine faster, comfy faster, easier faster.
Hmm.
So um, a whole lot's already been done. For just a moment, just close your eyes if you would for just a moment with your eyes closed. Don't try to do anything. In fact, particularly don't try to move your body or your head or your neck or your shoulders. Don't try to move anything. And instead, just be aware. And as you're aware of your own body, your own head, neck, shoulders, perhaps you can notice that without you doing anything consciously, purposely to cause it, that there is movement going on. Of course, everything's always moving, particularly things that are alive, and particularly you. You've been moving a lot. You've been getting so much done. There's all kinds of things that are moving that you notice, and behind them, thousands of things that don't even get noticed. And I'm noticing right now that although you're not doing anything on purpose to do it, there certainly is movement going on through your head. And the exciting thing is that, as I've mentioned, it had increased. And the reason that it has increased is because your beautiful mind is not just powerful, but when certain criteria have been met, wonderfully responsive. That's what causes you to be such a phenomenal learner, where you learn, experience, integrate, and then transmit that knowledge out to others in such a loving way. Your body's moving even more, the head's moving even more. That means we are online. We have connected. We have Houston here. They hear us. We've blasted off. And take your own time. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. Perfect. And just um, check for your, well, check remember we got a design, it was kind of grayscale. I was like, oh, feels like yesterday, but you can remember
Yeah.
that design. What's it look like now?
Hmm. I guess I'm not getting a real clear picture.
Yeah. So you would explain to a little boy that a thermometer is an instrument that gives a reading on the environment. He says, why, Mr. Nico, if it said 43 degrees when I woke up and 63 degrees at noon, should I hope it got warmer? And you say, kid, you don't have to hope. It's warmer. Things have shifted. If it reads differently, things are different. What you just saw is like a thermometer giving a reading on the internal environment within your mind. Read the issue on the table. It reads different. We began, I said, to try to cause the feeling of missing longing. Try to
Mhm.
cause it again for a moment. Yeah,
Well, we come
that's
now.
like sticking your tongue. Well, why go after the dentist, right? They made so congratulations. You're a fast learner, and you got it taken care of. You could have been there without me at all. We just maybe got you there a bit faster, and so that's what I'm looking to do, is to
Mhm.
cause people to be out of pain, but quickly. Um, and do it in a way that doesn't cause pain.
Mhm.
Because as wacko as it sounds, a lot of people would have thought in the mental health arena that the reason that the thing to do about the pain that you experience was feel more of it
Mhm.
and feel it more deeply and fall deeper into it. And I don't think so. So we just moved you past it. I have the images I think about you. Did you ever skip a rock across the water?
Yeah, definitely.
I haven't done it in years. I haven't thought about it in years, but I think about it when I meet you, because
Hmm.
that's what I see you doing, hitting and lifting. You hit, and where somebody else would say, oh, I'm going down. You're using it as a trampoline.
Hmm.
You use the sinkhole as a trampoline and it shoots you into the sky. Um, so bottle that and make it available. That's
Yeah,
an amazing thing that you have going for you.
thank you. I love that metaphor. And
Well, it's just for you, dude. I can't remember saying that to anybody. Um, but but it's right, right? Rock hits the water. Where does it go? Up in the air.
yeah,
Well, what? Well, that's what it does. Hits the water, goes up in the air. You hit, and up you go. And there's other sand. There's some more sand.
I've heard.
I think there's some over to the left, supposedly. You know, like so much that you're gonna have trouble brushing it all off. it's not going to be hard to get it stuck on.
Yeah.
Um, and you're bright, you're personable, you're kind, you're respectful and fun. That's what the sand is looking for. It's looking for you. And all those amazing gals are looking for you, and 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 yay. So you're on your way to all that. This is like so much fun. I'm so glad we had this opportunity to do this. If you ever, I had a radio show for a while back when people listened to this thing. It was called a radio. You tune
Yeah.
it in. Like tape recorders. It's all in museums now. But I used to have a radio show, and I had some favorite guests. And if I was getting stood up or hard to find somebody, I'd call that person over and over. Um, Anytime somebody cancels at the last minute, dude, if I can be there, I'd love to. This is so much fun. I'd
Yeah,
love to do more and more with you.
I'm guessing that a lot of people are really going to enjoy this, and we'll have to have you again because I know people will really enjoy it.
I'd love to do it, friend. Love to do
Yeah.
it.
Well, a few last things that I just want to share is just a lot of gratitude for you. Thank you, Dr. Connelly. Like this has been
Thank you, sir.
for me personally, but I know a lot of people else are going to get some out of it. I guess a question I would ask you is beyond, obviously go to the solutions classes and get more integrated into your world. What would you hope that people pull away from this episode?
Um, that it would be a good idea if you're looking for assistance with something to find somebody who will take responsibility for causing it rather than tell you that it's your job.
Mm,
And that if something that your coach or therapist is saying doesn't make sense to you, it probably means that it doesn't make sense.
mm, mhm.
I mean, I was in therapy for a long time and I was afraid to drop out. I mean, a year and a half later, I'm thinking, well, maybe next time it will all make sense. And if I drop out too soon, I'll have wasted. Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
that could go on forever and ever. And does for some people. If it doesn't make sense, it probably doesn't make sense. And if somebody tells you you got to feel bad to feel better, that frickin' doesn't make sense.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. It's interesting because I've dabbled very, very lightly with any therapy. It didn't really resonate with me, but I've also kind of heard
Well,
like,
look what you've
okay,
done to
well,
yourself. Because you didn't go in that rabbit hole, but instead you just became magnificent. It's beautiful.
thank you. I appreciate that. And then one last question I was going to ask you too, is I know you have a couple books. Are those good places to start, or would you recommend that people
Oh, I
should just
think,
come to the
there are
classes?
those who like to read, those who like to listen. I've got two books out. One is called Life-Changing Conversations. The other is called Grief is Not Sacred. And both books, word for word, demonstrate exactly how huge life shifts happen in a visit, in a conversation.
Hmm.
Um, and we brought the price on them super low because I mean, I'm not Stephen King. I'm not making money selling books, but I'd like the books to be out there guiding folks.
Yeah, cool. Well, awesome, Dr. Connolly. Again, I really appreciate you being on. I really enjoyed this conversation and just love the work
Come
that you're
back to
doing.
solutions and wave at me. Say hi to all the people you just brought on.
Yeah, I'll be back for sure. I popped on a couple other times that I haven't raised my hand. I just got in there quickly. Time is of the essence right now, but
There
definitely
you
want to
go.
make time to.
Enjoy. And it was great fun. I'm so grateful. Thank you, friend.
Awesome.